On today's episode of the franchise, episode number 7, we're going through NFL Week 4 recap, all of the headlines, big stories, recaps from the weekend of NFL football, as well as college football, new top 10 rankings, as well as talking about USC and Caleb Williams. Was able to go to the USC game on Saturday. Going to talk about what I saw, what I liked, what I didn't like, all of that stuff, as well as the MLB postseason is set. 2 games left in the regular season, but the postseason bracket is set. Going to dive a little bit into that, as well as some other MLB news in this episode. Before we get into it, just a reminder that this podcast, the franchise, is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I think some other platforms too, but the big 3 that people use, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Podcast is available. Give it a like, give it a rating, and let's get into it. Week 4, we're going to start with college football. We're going to start with USC, Caleb Williams, and stuff like that. I was able to go to the USC game on Saturday. They played Arizona State, and they ended up winning that contest. I really just want to talk about Caleb Williams here. You know, Caleb Williams, first-year quarterback for USC. He's in his sophomore season in college. Played last year at Oklahoma under head coach Lincoln Riley, who's now the head coach at USC. Remember, both of these guys transferred over after Lincoln Riley got hired here from Oklahoma in the offseason, and then Caleb Williams entered the transfer portal to join Lincoln Riley here at USC. And last year, he wasn't the starter as a true freshman at Oklahoma. It was Spencer Rattler's job, who last year was one of the Heisman favorites. He started off a little rocky, a little okay, then played a game against Texas. They were down big at one point. Lincoln Riley puts in Caleb Williams, and the rest is history. They come back, win the game, beat Texas, and then now, obviously, Lincoln Riley gets hired by USC to be their head football coach. Caleb Williams transfers over, as long as a bunch of other guys from Oklahoma to USC. So expectations preseason for USC were very high. Obviously, they got one of the top coaches in the country, as well as one of the top young quarterbacks in the nation as well. And being able to watch Caleb Williams in person in this USC team, mainly the offense, Caleb Williams is insane. This guy is going to be a top first-round pick, top 10 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, which is when he's eligible. Not eligible for the 23 because he's only a sophomore. But if he keeps up the pace he's on or gets better, this guy is going to be a top 10 pick. Some of the things that he does are just incredible. He is a very elite, mobile quarterback. He gives off Kyler Murray elusiveness, vibes as a runner. He's able to just break every single player's ankles on the field. He's able to gain extra yardage when the play would appear to be dead. His ability to extend plays when the receivers aren't open yet or the O-line is crunching in on him is something that you really only see from these high-end players and NFL quarterbacks. And Caleb Williams, is showing that he is one of these guys going forward that is a legit quarterback. And his ability in the pocket too. USC against ASU had a lot of didn't give Caleb Williams a lot of time in the first half, really in the whole game, but predominantly in the first half. Caleb Williams was under a lot of pressure in the first half. Had to, really scramble and move around a lot. But his ability to break tackles and not get sacked is really, really good. I mean, this guy should have been sacked at least 10 times. He avoided 90% of those, and he's just able to step up and break a tackle and have a 350-pound D lineman on his shoulder and then just shrug him off and then roll out to his right and then throw a touchdown. And his mobility and his awareness as a football player, as a quarterback, is next level stuff. And also his trick plays, his star-studded plays are incredible. Not just his standard drop back throws. He made some plays where he was jumping 10 feet, it seemed like, in the air at max height, throws the football 20 yards for a first down. And his ability to extend plays when nothing's available is pretty similar to like what these top NFL quarterbacks are doing, like Patrick Mahomes, right? If a player's not open for Mahomes, all he's got to do is roll out right, roll out left, do a couple jukes, and then there's a new receiver open that wasn't open 10 seconds ago. And that's some stuff that Caleb Williams did for USC. USC's offense is amazing. Obviously, USC is ranked number 6 in the country for the AP poll. We'll see my top 10 rankings in a minute. But USC's offense is incredible. They scored on their first 2 opening drives. They scored on their opening drive, and then they scored on the next drive against ASU. I think the only problem with USC is the defense. They very much struggled against Arizona State. Not able to hold them on third down. A lot of third down conversions. And, I mean, just too many yards were given up. A lot of 20-yard, 10-yard, 15-yard plays for Arizona State, which is not what you want to see out of a team that is this high in the nation. Obviously, that's just all offensively. This offense for USC is incredible. And they can beat anybody with that offense. I really think that. It's just going to come down to, are they going to be able to score enough points to make up for the points that they're going to give up if they ever played a school like Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, or Clemson, which I think most of those schools, definitely Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State are better. Clemson, you could make the argument that USC could beat them and is better than them. So that's the only concern with USC is the defense. The offense is going to take care of itself, and it already has. New top 10, though, for college football. Georgia had a very, very tough game. They almost lost to Missouri. So that's going to shake up some of the rankings here. Don't quite remember what I had last week, but I'm pretty sure it's Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and Michigan were the top 4. This week, Ohio State for me is the number one team in the country. Number 2 would be Alabama. Number 3, I would put Michigan, and number 4, I would put Georgia, followed by Clemson, USC, Oklahoma State, Tennessee, and then I'd put Penn State in there, and then probably Utah at number 10. I know Ole Miss 5-0. They're missing out. Kansas is finally ranked, though. When it comes to the AP poll, a 5-0 team finally ranked. But yes, that's really all I want to say about college football. I just really wanted to talk about Caleb Williams because seeing that guy in person, there was just some stuff that was incredible. He's probably the best quarterback I've ever seen play in person. And those include the likes of Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. So, not the best list, but Caleb Williams is a legit player. He's already better than those 2 guys. Real quick before we get into the recap of the NFL Week 4, the MLB postseason is set. Every single team that is able to make the playoffs, all the playoff spots are locked up. We're going to talk about more of this coming up on one of the Thursday episodes. But the playoff teams for this season are the Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays. Yankees have won their division. Guardians won the division, as well as the Astros winning the division. The Mariners also end a 21-year playoff drought. They make the postseason for the first time since 2001. The Atlanta Braves and New York Mets just played a divisional series against each other. This was a huge series. Both these teams were tied heading into the weekend. Braves end up sweeping the Mets. They have a game-and-a-half lead on them right now. And with a Braves win or Mets loss, the Braves will win the division. Still right now, though, unsure who's going to win the division, who's going to make the wild card. But both those teams are in the playoffs, as well as the Phillies making the playoffs for the first time in a very long time. Cardinals made the playoffs, and then the Dodgers and the Padres. Again, I'm going to go more in depth on all this. I'm going to go through all the teams, make my predictions round by round in one of Thursday's episodes of the podcast. So just wanted to go over a little bit of that. Shohei Ohtani and the Angels agreed on a 1-year, $30 million deal to avoid arbitration. This is just a deal to get Shohei paid money. If I was Ohtani, though, I wouldn't have done this contract. I would have gone into the arbitration office and said, there's no other player on the planet you can compare me to. Who else pitches like I do, hits like I do? No one. No one does both. There might be Aaron Judge might be a little bit of a better hitter this year than Ohtani, and there's definitely a few better pitchers than Ohtani this year, but no one's doing both at a top 10 level like Shohei Ohtani. So he gets $30 million next season. Hopefully, he's able to stay with the Angels. As an Angels fan, I hope he does stay. But then again, how much money is he going to want? How much money will the new ownership pay him? Whatever that happens. And maybe they ultimately end up trading him. If that's the case, better be for a lot. Because, Shohei is insanely good, and the Angels don't have any talent in their organization. Tony La Russa, real quick, with Ohtani, he has an 18-game hitting streak. So, he's going to end the season hopefully on a 20-game streak. And then finally, Tony La Russa steps down as manager of the White Sox due to health. White Sox were very, very disappointing this season. A lot of people expected them to win the division. They didn't even make the playoffs. So yeah, let's jump in here though. NFL Week 4 recap. Gonna go through all these games here. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in this week. Beginning with the Thursday night game between the Dolphins and the Bengals. Bengals won 27-15. The big story from this one was Tua. Tua obviously against the Bills a few Sundays ago had a head injury in the first half, tackled, hit his head on the turf, goes out, concussion protocol, and you think he's going to be out, right? He gets hit, falls to the ground, head smacks the grass, right? So he stands up, starts wobbling around, and you think, oh shoot, this guy has a concussion. He's done for the game. Ends up coming back in the second half. So questions arose about the protocol and if he even passed protocol or if they manipulated it, the Dolphins, whatever. NFLPA did an investigation. They fired some people, but they haven't found anything yet, right? So that was like Sunday, a few Sundays ago. And then the Dolphins, of course, they just play a Thursday night football game 5 days later after Tua suffers what appears to be a concussion. They didn't say it was a concussion. They just said it was a back. Of course, they play on Thursday, though. So Tua goes in on Thursday night, and then he gets another concussion. This one's way, way worse. I'm sure most of you have seen the videos by now. Starts shaking his fingers when he gets tackled. Fingers clench up like this, throwing a bunch of signs up. But no, that was a very, very scary sight to see, right? From a guy that just appeared to have a concussion 5 days earlier to go out, appear to be fine, get tackled, and then basically black out, body tenses up, throwing up signs with his fingers because that's just a natural reaction, and have to get carted off the field. Something really serious happened here. Tua's out for the next game, Week 5 against the Jets, as he should be, because this guy needs to take a little bit of time off of football. Just had 2 concussions, right? So something needs to change here with the NFL protocol for concussions. The protocol's been mocked a bunch in the past, saying that it's too simple, or it's dumb tests, or guys can just get out of it, or the teams just say, oh, no, you're fine, you're good to play. Something needs to change for player safety because Tua, if he had a concussion against the Bills, should not have been playing 5 days later against the Bengals. But getting to the actual game, the Bengals end up winning. T. Higgins played an amazing game, 124 and a touchdown. Jamar Chase had a better game. I will say, though, as a Jamar Chase fantasy owner, not the most pleased with the production. And it's not entirely his fault. I would say most of it is going to lie on fault of Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense. I mean, they're not targeting him as much. In the game a few weeks ago against the Jets, what is his name? Sauce Gardner did lock up Jamar Chase. But against the Dolphins, they were missing some of their top corners. Jamar Chase, you feel, should have gone off more than he did. But when it came to this game, the headline of the game was Tua. And hopefully Tua is okay going forward because he's been playing great this year. The last thing that's needed is Tua to be out more time with more serious injuries. So hopefully Tua gets okay. Moving on, though, Sunday games. First one, we had the first London game of the season. Vikings 28, Saints 25. Saints had a potential game-tying field goal to end the game. And they double-doinked it, missed it. Kirk Cousins and the Vikings are 3-1 on the season. I remember a lot of people wrote them off when they lost Week 2 to the Eagles on Monday Night Football. But since then, they've won all their games. It's only been 2 games, but they're 3-1 atop the division with the Packers. Kirk Cousins had a Kirk Cousins kind of game, picking an interception. Andy Dalton started for the Saints with Jameis Winston out. Dalvin Cook, a week after he hurt his shoulder, came in and played. He didn't do a whole lot of stuff. Justin Jefferson played amazing. 10 receptions, 147 yards. Adam Thielen had a nice game too. This London game is probably not the best one. Next week's might be better. I know the Packers are playing next week. Browns lose to the Falcons by a score of 20-23. One thing from this one, the Falcons ran the ball 14 straight times at one point. Cordell Patterson is placed on IR with a knee injury. Nick Chubb had a very good game, 118 for a touchdown. Let's move on from all of these games. We can just recap them later. One of the main things I actually want to talk about is why, to start the season, when everyone in media is doing their standings predictions, why for the AFC West, why in general, were the Kansas City Chiefs doubted? Obviously, the loss of Tyreek Hill was the main reason for that. But you were saying that Tyreek Hill getting traded and no longer being a part of this Kansas City Chiefs team is going to turn them from a first place Super Bowl contender to the last place team, like some people were saying in the AFC West? Or how are the Chiefs going to play this year without Tyreek Hill? What are they going to look like? Is their offense going to struggle? Clearly not. All right, through 4 games, the Chiefs' offense is among one of the top offenses in the league. They have a very solid running game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has played amazing this season. He's bounced back from a shaky season last year. Patrick Mahomes is playing just like you'd expect him to play. And they still have Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in the league, Mahomes' number 1 target. And you even look at the other talent surrounding Patrick Mahomes at the receiver depth: Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, guy that they just drafted. They have a lot of talent and a lot of depth for Patrick Mahomes. They got Travis Kelce still, and they have a very, very good offensive line. So I just don't understand, where the expectation of the Chiefs not being good came from, besides the fact that, obviously it came from the fact that Tyreek Hill is no longer on the team. But they have the best quarterback in the game. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. Undisputed, undebatable. He's number 1. He is number 1 in Tier 1. How many other guys are in Tier 1? Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Tom Brady. I guess that's it for Tier 1. Tier 2's, all the other great quarterbacks: Lamar, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, all those guys. But Tier 1 has 4 quarterbacks, and Patrick Mahomes is the best in Tier 1, the best in the NFL. So the fact that just Tyreek Hill alone is going to take the Chiefs from the best team in the AFC, best team in football, best team in their division, to some predictions being, the Chiefs' offense is going to struggle, they're going to finish last in the division, are they going to even make the playoffs, is outrageous. The Chiefs ended up winning against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 41-31. You're going to look back in a few weeks. Everyone's going to do it, and they're going to say, oh, this game was really close. But it wasn't. Chiefs opening drive against the Buccaneers fumble a kick, and the Chiefs end up capitalizing like 2 seconds into the game. And then at one point it's 21-0. Buccaneers looking rocky. One thing I wrote down here: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones have played 27 plays together through 4 games. Obviously, those guys have been injured and suspended, and a whole bunch of different stuff. So the Chiefs are really good, and I'll get into my top 10 rankings of the NFL teams from so far this season, and you'll find that the Chiefs are near the top of the list as you would expect. But for Tampa, Tom Brady finally had his first multi-touchdown game of the season, so props to Tom Brady for that one. He went 39 of 52, 385, passing with 3 touchdowns. The offense for the Buccaneers throughout the first few weeks of the season, there are some questions about it, questions about Brady, questions about the receivers, questions about the offensive line. All valid questions. But really a lot of those guys have been injured. Julio's been out 3 games. 2 games. Chris Godwin's been out a few games, and Mike Evans got suspended, and Leonard Fournette hasn't been productive, and a lot of the receivers were dropping balls. So you just had to wait and see, right? And hopefully, if this team can remain healthy, at the end of the day, this team's going to win their division. All right, the 3 other teams in the NFC South are bad. And at the end of the day, I'd expect this team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to either be in the divisional round of the playoffs or the NFC Conference Championship. Those are the 2 places they're going to end up being. They could make it to the Super Bowl because the NFC, I guess you'd say, is a little bit weaker. When it comes to NFC contenders, Philadelphia, Tampa, Green Bay, San Francisco, maybe the Rams. We'll have to talk about them and their struggles. Dallas, Minnesota, the Giants. Tampa's going to be there in the end. There's no reason to doubt them or overreact to this loss against the Chiefs. The Chiefs is the Chiefs. I feel like I've said that many times in the past few episodes. The Chiefs is the Chiefs, so there's no reason to doubt them or the Buccaneers. The Rams and 49ers, they just played on Monday Night Football a few hours ago. Rams lost this game 9-24. One thing I want to highlight, I love the 49ers attempt, their new idea of how to play against Aaron Donald, and that was to not block him. They just simply let Aaron Donald run straight through to Jimmy Garoppolo. So just thought that was cool. Never seen that strategy before, and probably will never see it again. Think you might want to guard the best defensive player in the game. The Rams, though, this team has struggled. They haven't looked the best since the start of the season. Obviously, first game they lose to the Buffalo Bills. Bills are among the top 3 teams in the game. So a lot of people, that was a hard game to pick, right? Rams, Bills, first game of the season. Who are you going to pick? So you can excuse, I guess, that loss, even though it didn't look good. Then they come out, play the Falcons. They barely win that game. And then last week they played the Cardinals. The Cardinals aren't good, right? So it's been hard to evaluate the Rams, and it's even harder now when they play horrible against their division rivals. I mean, the 49ers have one of the best defenses in the league. But the Rams, you'd expect more from a team that just made the Super Bowl, just won the Super Bowl, and has Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, just signed Allen Robinson. You'd expect this team to be really, really good this season. Instead, they're 2-2, and they just had a horrendous loss, right? The 49ers played great. Deebo Samuel's the highlight of the night. 6 receptions, 115 yards, and a touchdown. He, unfortunately, just caused me to go to no longer be 4-0 in my fantasy league. One of my fantasy leagues, I was 3-0. Now I'm 3-1 because Deebo Samuel. I don't know, like, how good are the Rams? I wish I had someone else here to talk about this with, because I just don't know where you rank the Rams, how you look at this team yet, because they have looked bad, really bad at times, and then they've also looked okay at other times, and they've looked really good at other times. They've just been an up and down wave so far in the season. It's only week 4, but I don't know. I mean, this is a really, really bad loss to the 49ers, to your division rival, divisional opponent. This was a very, very bad loss. Going through, though, Raiders pick up their first win of the season. Broncos offense played a little bit better, but they can continue to struggle. Jamal Williams for them is out for the season, torn ACL. Raiders had a fumble recovery. Jamal Adams finally had a 100-yard receiving game for the first time in a few weeks. Patriots lose to the Packers in OT by 3. The third-string quarterback had to go in with Daniel Jones getting hurt last week. Brian Hoyer getting evaluated for concussion. So then they had to put in Zappy, first NFL game, 99 yards and a touchdown. They lose, though. The Patriots have a nice little running duo with Harris and Stevenson. Both those guys getting enough carries. End of the day, the Packers win that game. Panthers, they have probably the worst offense in the league. Baker Mayfield. This is something pointed out on one of the other podcasts I do listen to. And he was doing an evaluation on quarterbacks, that high drafted quarterbacks, first round quarterbacks that end up going to new teams and their success rate. And the most successful guy to change teams is Ryan Tannehill. All of these other guys that were drafted high and didn't pan out with their first team that end up changing teams don't get better. And I think Sam Darnold proved that last year, and Baker Mayfield's doing that this year. He did not play good, and he will probably not play good this season, especially against really any team that, unless it's the Texans. The Panthers' offense is not good, even though they have one of the best players in the league in Christian McCaffrey, who just put up another 100 total yard game. But Baker Mayfield is not good. This Panthers team is not. Matt Rule's going to probably get fired. I would fire him now, because the Panthers are not good. I've just played horrible this whole season. The Cardinals didn't look great either, but one of these teams has to win. I mean, you can tie, but one of these teams has to win. Cardinals ended up coming out on top. Chargers, great game. Austin Eckler gets 3 touchdowns total on the day. First 2 rushing TDs of the season, as well as 1 receiving. Bills beat the Ravens 23-20. Lamar struggled a lot. I think Lamar, if he played better, probably would have gave me another win fantasy-wise. Two picks for Lamar on the day. J.K. Dobbins had a nice game. 13 carries, 41 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. But Josh Allen and the Bills played pretty solid against the Ravens. Jets, Zach Wilson's first game of the season. Go out, get a win. Kenny Pickett, though, is the story for the Steelers. Remember, Mitchell Trubisky was the starter for the first 3 games. Started this game. Come into the second half, Kenny Pickett, the only quarterback drafted in the first round in this past year's draft, gets the start the rest of the way. 10 of 13, 120 yards, 3 interceptions, 2 rushing touchdowns. One of the interceptions wasn't his fault. It was thrown up to Claypool, deflected, ended up in the dude's lap. And then one of them was at the end of the game, didn't really matter. So I guess you could say he had 1 real interception on the day. It's Kenny Pickett time, though, in Pittsburgh, which you like to see. Mitchell Trubisky is a very stale offensive quarterback. You can't do a lot. They haven't done a lot. They haven't scored at all. So to be able to see Kenny Pickett go in, dual threat, mobile quarterback, got gloves on, got smaller hands than me apparently, in at quarterback for the Steelers. Mike Tomlin said it's to bring in life and bring in energy. We'll see what that does, but they do end up falling short to the Jets, who are 2-2 on the year. Jets are 500. Jaguars, Eagles. Eagles win 29-21. This was a pretty interesting game looking in. Jaguars were 2-1, just came off a big win against the Chargers, and the week before that against the Colts. So, the Jaguars, are they back? Are they going to be good this year? They do end up falling short. They did come out 14-0 against the Eagles, but the Eagles come out and score many, many points unanswered. Jalen Hurts had a nice game. Miles Sanders, though, star of the show, 27 carries, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Eagles are the only 4-0 undefeated team in the league. We'll see in my power rankings in a minute where I have them ranked. It's probably not as high as many people think. Bears lose Giants 20-12. I don't even want to talk about that game. That is not a good game to watch. Titans beat the Colts. The Colts have looked horrible this season. Not good at all. They only looked good against the Chiefs, barely. The Titans are coming back ever since their big Week 2 shutout loss. Or not shutout loss, but blowout loss to the Bills. They come up, win back-to-back games. One against the Raiders and one against the Colts. So I like the direction of the Titans. The whole AFC South is weird. I mean, the Texans are already eliminated basically from the playoffs. The Jaguars' defense is good. Offense is good. They're 2-2 though, so are they going to be legit? We'll see. The Titans, same thing, 2-2. Bad losses, good wins. And then the Colts, the team that was predicted to be the best team in the division, has not lived up to expectations so far this season. But, there's still 14, 15 weeks left of football. Seahawks and Lions was a very high-scoring game. The Lions just don't quit. They just do not give up at all. What a day for Rashad Penny from Seahawks. 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. But on the side for the Lions, TJ Hawkinson, 8 receptions, 179 and 2 touchdowns. He played amazing too. One guy I want to highlight real quick, and this is going to be a tough one to defend, I guess. A lot of people are going to come at me for this probably. But Jared Goff he's playing pretty good. He's playing good football. Look at his stat line on Sunday. 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. This year, 11 touchdowns on the season. That leads the league. He's leading the league in touchdowns with 11. He has 3 picks on the year. He's completed 60% of his passes, over 1,100 yards. You look at his career. In the playoffs, he's played okay. He obviously he did lead the Rams to a Super Bowl, but that was really the defense. But former number 1 overall pick has had very good bright spots in his career. Early years with the Rams, he was great. Went 11-4, 2017. Went 13-3, 2018. Went 9-7, 9-6 in 2020. He did miss a postseason game for that one. I don't know. Just Jared Goff is playing great. He's playing really, really good football for the Lions, and I don't think it's not being talked about at all, and not being talked about enough. That Jared Goff is playing good, and maybe, just maybe, if he finds a way to play like he did back in 2017, 2018, and the way that you expect a number 1 pick to play, maybe the Lions don't need to go draft a quarterback in the upcoming years, and maybe they already have their franchise guy. I just want to give some love, though, to Jared Goff. The Cowboys beat the Commanders. The Commanders are one of the bottom 5 teams in the league. And the Cowboys get it done with Cooper Rush again. He's 4-0 in his career as a starter, 3-0 on the season. For a Cowboys team that we thought was dead once Dak Prescott got hurt, they've won 3 straight. So that's very, very cool to see. That's all of the games from the weekend. I didn't really dive into a lot of them. You can't really watch every single game, right? And some of these games just don't mean a lot to me personally. Also, it's just me on this episode, so my throat hurts from talking so much. NFL Top 10. Top 10 teams, power rankings, I guess you'd call them. I'm not going to do all 32. That'd literally take like 20 hours to do. But starting from the bottom, top 10 power rankings. Number 10, I have the Cowboys. Their defense is incredible. They have just played amazing throughout the season with Micah Parsons at the helm. Trayvon Diggs has been looking pretty good as well. And Cooper Rush has been getting it done. Like I just said, for a team that we thought was going to be dead, out of the playoffs, not being able to win games when Stack got hurt, to be able to win 3 straight is very, very impressive. And CeeDee Lamb has looked very, very good so far this season. They're my number 10. Number 9, I have the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, to me, is still the MVP frontrunner after a very, very tough week against the Bills. Their defense, their secondary, was supposed to give up 20 million points to the Bills. They didn't. They're probably not going to be one of the top defenses or secondaries in the league, but they did look improved compared to a few weeks ago. And like I said, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, this offense will be good. It's going to take care of itself. But they played the Bills, so, unfortunate right there. Number 8, I have the Vikings. Vikings are a team that I feel like is going under the radar. You lose the Eagles on Monday Night Primetime, week 2. Your season, people writing you off. People writing off Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is really, really good, because he's Kirk Cousins. He's mid. But the Vikings are getting it done, right? Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, and pretty solid play from the defense. Puts them at number 8. Number 7, I have the Bengals. After starting out 0-2, they come out, win against the Jets, and win against the Dolphins. They're looking good finally. Joe Burrow only got sacked 1 time on Thursday Night Football, which, compared to him getting sacked 5, 6, 7 times throughout these first 3 weeks, is a positive sign. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, that whole receiving core, and Joe Mixon, as well as that defense for the Bengals, puts them at number 7. Number 6, I have Tampa. Like I said earlier in the episode, there's no reason to press the panic button if you're the Buccaneers or you're a Buccaneers fan. They're going to be there in the end in a very weak NFC. And they still have Tom Brady at the helm, and their offense hasn't played at all really together this season. A lot of injuries, suspensions, banged up offensive line. They're going to be there in the end. So Tampa is my number 6. Number 5, I have the Chargers. When they lose against the Chiefs and then they lose against the Jaguars at home, you question where they're going to be. They were banged up a lot, right? They come out against the Texans, win a game. The Chargers have all the talent in the world to be one of these best teams. It all just depends if they're going to stay healthy. Right now I have them at 5. Number 4, I have the Packers. The Packers were a weird team to place. I didn't know where to place them. I feel like they are slightly better than the Chargers at this point. Obviously, the Chargers have better receivers. But Aaron Rodgers is probably top 3 quarterback in the game. They have a great running duo with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And defensively, the Packers are a good team. So they're my number 4. Number 3, this is where I have the 4-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, they're 4-0. They're undefeated, the only undefeated team in the NFL. I just can't put them above these other 2 teams. That's the only reason I have them this low. Jalen Hurts, probably an MVP candidate. For me, he'd be second right now. There's a chance he wins MVP this season. Miles Sanders looked pretty good. They have A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and Devontae Smith, all weapons for him. And then that defense is amazing with Darius Slay on it. And some just amazing talent. Nick Sirianni's a good coach. I can't put them above my number 2 and my number 1. Number 2 is the Chiefs, and number 1 is the Bills. The Bills are still the best team in football. Yes, they had a loss to the Dolphins, and they barely squeaked it out against the Ravens. But Josh Allen is the only quarterback in the NFL. Josh Allen is the best of the best. He's not the best quarterback in the league. That's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to contradict myself like I just did, or like I said earlier about Mahomes. I'm not going to do that. Josh Allen is incredible. I said he was going to win MVP earlier in the season. Will he? I don't know. But you look at this Bills team, they're complete with all their receiving weapons. Yes, they can't really run the football. But defensively, this team is just too good. And then number 2 is the Chiefs. All the reasons I mentioned earlier. Patrick Mahomes is him. He is him, and that is enough to put them number 2 and to make them a serious, legit contender in the NFL through 4 weeks. So, I think that will wrap it up for this episode. Yeah, that's really going to wrap it up. This is a quad episode week. If you didn't know, this episode is going up on Tuesday. Another episode on Tuesday is going to be NBA season preview. And then also on Thursday, we have two uploads going up, MLB playoff preview and NFL Week 5 picks. Hopefully, we got some people joining us. My camera is freaking going to fall, and it was angled the whole time. So hopefully it didn't look bad. I don't know. These solo episodes are tough. I like talking by myself. I don't mind it. But sometimes it gets a little dragging, gets a little daunting, gets a little exhausting. So it is nice to have a co-host. Hopefully one of them are able to join in the next few episodes. But yeah, for this episode number 7 of the franchise, NFL Week 4 recap we just did. Talked a little MLB, and we talked a lot about Caleb Williams and USC. So stay tuned for the other episodes this week. 4 episodes of the podcast this week. Very, very excited and pumped for that. Thank you guys so much, though, for tuning in. Hopefully this episode was good. I don't know. I feel like this episode is not going to be good. I just feel like I didn't feel like I did enough. Didn't do good today. But hopefully it's satisfactory. Thank you guys for tuning in, and bye.